All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so I am really excited. We have Miss Natalie Gold, who's a powerhouse attorney. And I met her on Clubhouse and she was dropping gems. I was like, y'all need to hear her and our audience needs to hear her. So Natalie is a mom, wife, super lawyer, best-selling author and speaker. She empowers and educates, inspires women to reach their unlimited potential. Natalie, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thank you, Curtis. Thanks so much for having me. And I need to update that bio. It's not just women, it's women, men, all people to live the life of their dreams. And I think that starts with a great foundation of wealth and asset protection so that all these lawyers cannot get at your money. And we'll get
That's
into
right.
that soon.
Let's keep, gotta keep it. You gotta make it, you gotta keep it, you gotta grow it, right? And so asset protection is major, and it's the saying, you can't build your house. You can't insure your house if it's already on fire, right? So you can't if you're being sued, it's too late to, let me set up a trust or let me set up an LLC and protect my stuff. You know, I heard you say on the call, was like, that's called a fraudulent conveyance. You can't do that, right? So you got to get this stuff set up right first.
It's too late to apologize, as the song goes. Look,
too late.
To your point,
right?
Who wouldn't want to save the money on the insurance and wait until the house is burning? But nobody's giving you a policy at that point. Same with asset protection. Unfortunately, the United States of America is the most litigious country in the world by far.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 44% of the world population and about 90+% of its lawsuits.
Wow.
So are you going to roll the dice, or are you going to make sure that you're busting your butt, working every day, making this money, that it's actually going to be there for you and your family when you need it?
Exactly. So that's the name of the game. Let's protect it. And let's get into that. So one of the things and anything you want to talk about in regards to moving towards asset protection, we really want to talk about trust today. But if you want to build into the idea of asset protection, but what we want to talk about today, because she was talking about this on a call, and I've been getting a lot of call for this. So Curtis stays in his lane, and I find y'all an expert. Okay. So Natalie, tell us anything you want to say about more about asset protection, or do you want to jump into trust?
Trust are the number one vehicle for asset protection. That's all it is.
Okay.
And what a trust does, and we use other things for asset protection in addition to, but the trust is always going to be our cornerstone.
Okay.
Now, the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable trust are that in a revocable trust, the asset protection can only happen after a person passes away.
Okay.
Or if you're doing you and your wife, you and your husband, it's after both people pass away. At that point, it becomes asset protected for your children. There are ways we can draft it as well, that on the death of the first one, it goes into a spousal trust. So that way, let's say you want to make sure that your wife doesn't end up marrying somebody new and giving all your money to him, we can work around that and make sure that that's planned so that it's protected for her and the children and not some new person.
Right.
But really, you have to think about,
I need you in mourning for at least a year. I want you wear black, and I want the flags at half mast.
Well, I certainly
6 months.
Include any of that kind of language in the trust. But what the couple wants to discuss is up to them, right? So that's what a revocable trust really does. It avoids probate, and it allows for some protection after death.
After that, okay.
The irrevocable trust difference is that it allows for the protection during life, but you can't have something for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't also be the trustee and be the one in power and also have all the benefits of a trust. Okay. Typically with irrevocable trusts, which is why for most people, let's say they're doing Medicaid planning, they don't want to pay 15 to 20 grand a month in care.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do a Medicaid trust, which is an irrevocable trust for the benefit of the grantors, mom and dad. Typically, the kids are going to be the trustees, and then it's going to be for the kids when mom and dad are no longer here. Now, if someone, though, is, let's say, not the person who's thinking about just avoiding probate, rev trust, or Medicaid trust planning, let me get this money out of my name, but not just gift it to my kids where I lose the step up in basis and they'll have to pay a tremendous capital gains tax when I'm no longer here. And maybe, daughter-in-law or son-in-law who don't really love will now be privy to my assets when I'm still alive and they could kick me out on the street. We're going to do a Medicaid trust. It's going to be irrevocable. But you know what? At this point, I'd rather give my kids the control than have to spend 20 grand a month in my care and deplete everything I've ever made. Those are kind of the basics.
Okay.
Once you get into more sophisticated planning in that you have over a 7-figure net worth, you need to start thinking, yes, the death is important. Yes, when you're, getting older and the long-term care costs, of course, very important. But why the heck are you an entrepreneur or a working person who is killing yourself every single day if you are living with your butt naked as far as your assets are concerned?
Come on now. Mm-hmm.
Truth be told. And that's what's happening when you're living in your personal name. The Rockefellers said, own nothing, control everything. What that means is own interest.
Okay.
And what we're talking are asset protection trusts. Depending on how we structure them, are we doing it for tax purposes? We need to do a little something different. We need to put someone else, maybe your spouse, maybe your brother, sister, in control as trustee. If we're doing it for asset protection purposes, meaning you're less than $10 million net worth or $22 million for a family, husband, wife, so you're not worried about the estate tax, but you are worried about lawsuit prevention, we can actually allow you to be your own trustee, having a private trust company, which is anonymous, and the person establishing the trust, and it's for your benefit. So it's like, why wouldn't you do this? And that's the domestic asset protection trust. It's just
domestic. Okay. So is that revocable, irrevocable? Is that a separate thing?
It's an irrevocable trust.
Irrevocable.
Which acts like a revocable because you are in all three positions. So a trust is simply a contract between a person, grantor or settlor, person establishing it, and a trustee for the benefit of a beneficiary.
Okay.
If you can take all three roles, though, that's power. And you still get the asset protection. It's everything you want from the revocable trust, the power, the control, the probate avoidance, plus the irrevocable trusts, tax benefits, and asset protection rolled into one.
Wow. I'm loving that. So let's paint, I want to do an example here. So here's like 3 types of listeners I have or clients I work with. So 1, I work with small business owners. Okay. 2, I work with pretty successful real estate investors. And then I've got families that aspire to the first 2 I just named. So let's say they're working, they have a job, but they have 1 to 5, 6 properties, a business, therapy practice on the side or whatever, and they're trying to grow their wealth. Let's start with that, the last one first, because I guess you're going to grow into the rest of it. But is that and here's the other part. So, because this is the part I thought about. I'll ask people this question when I work with them. I said, listen, let's say you or your wife both passed away and your child was 18, okay, or under 18, would you want to have them have access to the $1 million or $2 million life insurance policy that we set up directly with no instruction and no restrictions?
Supervision.
Yeah, supervision. Is that what you want? They go, no. See, in my mind, they just said they wanted trust.
Correct. Now, there's different types of trust. Trust is just a contract. So this contract goes into effect only upon the death. For that family, let's take the last example first. What they need is this: a pour over will into a living trust, which is a revocable trust, that then allows for a further trust to be established for their children. So let's say mom and dad pass before the kids turn 30. Right. That trust is held for their benefit, the kids benefit until they're 30. Now at 30, I still don't want the kids to get it directly. And here's why. Let's say they marry the wrong person.
Yes.
Or they get into a bad business partnership. You want your money protected.
I said a joke as, listen, I'm trying to protect I have 3 daughters, right? So to protect them from their future first ex-husband, right? And I hate to say, but just what 60% of marriages end in divorce. I don't want some knucklehead to get my money, right? So
You keep it separate. We keep
yeah.
it in further trust. Now at
Mm-hmm.
30, they can become their own trustee.
Mm-hmm.
They can become in full control, but they keep it separate. And like, yes, do you have to educate your children on what you're doing? Duh.
Right.
If you're scared to talk about money, your family will never be wealthy.
Yeah, we talk about it. Listen, our third principle, I'll talk to you about my 5 principles. Principle 2 is maximum protection, which going asset. The third principle is full replacement of assets at death, or I call it leaving a legacy of wealth and the wisdom to go along with that. So we have to teach, Rich Dad Poor Dad says wealth. Rich Dad. So the whole title of that book people miss is Rich Dad Poor Dad, would wealthy people teach their kids that the poor and middle class don't. So we have to, you got to learn it and you got to teach it. That's kind of like my driving passion of what we're trying to do here. And just, introduce some experts like you. So that's my 30-second rant.
To your point, like if you don't, you could do the best planning in the world. You can have the best written trust in the world. It doesn't matter. Because the one determinant of whether or not this will work is human behavior.
Yes.
And behavior is taught time and time again. It's not a one-time conversation. By the way, when I drop dead, go look at my will. It's in this place and this. No, it's understanding we are a family of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
We intend to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how we're going to do it. You are part of this business. The family business is not decimating this money. It's continuing to grow it, because when you grow more money, you can make more change and be a positive force in this world.
Right.
And, look, all these people who are scared to talk about money with their kids and blah, 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 likely they don't have much and they're afraid of money. You cannot make money your friend if you're afraid of it.
Right. Money goes to where it's treated the best, where you can't have a disdain for it and attract it, or be scared about it and attract it, because it's not going to come. You're not going to attract it to you. Yeah, there are rules to the game and you got to learn the rules. Money's not good or bad or evil or all that nonsense people talk about. Money is green paper you exchange for goods and services. And so you have to teach your kids those principles so that you can perpetuate this stuff. So that's exciting.
And Curtis, to your point of green paper, and today it's not even green paper. Today it's cryptocurrency.
Yep.
And if you have a private wallet and nobody has the private key, how the heck are they going to get that money?
Right. How about that?
How about that?
They don't even know where it is, if you have it, and how to get into it. I mean, yeah, don't get me started with that. So let's stay on the, all right. So let's stay on the, the trust thing, because let me ask you this. So here's what comes to mind. So a power of a will, a revocable trust. Now, is that like a foundational thing, do you move up into the other things that we talk about depending on your situation? Like, can you have more than one, or explain the levels of that?
Of course you can. It's going into Dunkin' Donuts. You get a base. You get your base vanilla or whatever. You get a cup. And you can fill it with whatever you want. The revocable trust is just the plain vanilla.
Okay.
It's the most basic. It's going to get you there, but it's not going to do a ton of things. It doesn't have the sprinkles, the cherries, the whipped cream. It just doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Just plain vanilla. Well, let's say you want to go into something more sophisticated as you make more money. Well, you better put all your real estate into separate LLCs. Hello? You're not putting in your personal name. No, we're not doing that.
Let's say, all right, let's talk about, because this is a question I asked you on the thing, because I've had people say, oh, that's too much paperwork. Like I can't, I've got 15 properties. I can't have a separate entity for each one. And you gave me a really good response to that. So I'm setting that up. I want you to talk about that before we go back to the trust.
Well, how about the 15 properties you worked your butt off to have, and you get one lawsuit because of one of them? Someone slips and falls, a tenant, something happens. And then they come after everything you own because it's in your social security number, which can be easily found with one search.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. If you want all your money to go down the drain because it was too much paperwork and too hard, fine. But here's, Curtis, what it comes down to. When people start making money like that and buying like that, you need to up your mindset. You're no longer going to be DIYing it and thinking you're doing it right. You're going to level up and get the right professionals like you, like me, to make sure that we're all talking to each other and figuring out this game plan. It's not
Right.
just like, let me go to LegalZoom and get a $100 document and I'm good. Did it take you $100 to buy those 15 properties? I
Right.
mean, wake up,
That's right. That's right. That's right. Got to spend some money.
Gotta spend money to make money,
Gotta spend money to make money. So now so let's say they've set up the pour over will that but now they're becoming an investor. Is that, are we changing the will they have, or are you adding something else to it? Like, because I'm so not understanding. So I know if I don't understand it, my listeners are, so I'm
Sure.
asking the questions I think they would
appreciate
ask.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So look, the pour over will pour over into the trust that is named in the will. At first, it was the Curtis May Irrevocable Living Trust, because that's
Right.
what we started with.
Yes.
But now, if everything that Curtis May owns is going to be within LLCs that are then assigned into the big bucket of the Asset Protection Trust, yes, we need to update the pour over will to make sure that the Asset Protection Trust is named. Now, we don't ever want to actually use the will, Curtis. Here's the thing. The will is the catch-all in case we forgot something.
Mm-hmm.
The trust and a beneficiary designation and a TOD all go first. The will is second or third or fourth, only for something that doesn't already have a home.
Okay.
So that's the whole point of why, like, to me, the will is like so basic and so 101, but it's truly just as a catch-all. I intend that because a will has to go through probate. That's the whole thing. Probate court is the process through which to prove a will at the death of the person who died.
Okay.
We want it to be a living, breathing, hand-holding thing with your kids. You can hold their hands forever because they don't have to have a third-party judge take a year to put a stamp on a piece of paper and tell them they can get their money now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a seamless process. So that trust or that LLC, like let's take the example of the real estate investor. They're going to own Curtis May LLC or CM LLC 1.
Right.
CM LLC 1 is going to then be further owned and assigned into Curtis May's Asset Protection Trust. So if each LLC is assigned into your trust, that trust is the holding bucket. Each LLC is a rock in that bucket. And the bucket is transferred directly from you to your children without any third-party intervention. Pretty powerful.
Yes. So I'm trying to draw this out. So picture a circle, right? And put your asset protection trust, and then little circles underneath that are all each of your LLCs for your properties or your businesses. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Flowing up to the income is flowing up into the asset protection trust?
The income, it's a grantor trust. So it's a flow-through entity, a disregarded entity for income tax purposes.
Okay.
What we're talking about now is simply from an asset protection.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Once we get into taxes, we're talking a whole different realm. Because remember, there's your income tax.
Yep.
There's your capital gains tax when you sell or buy a property or a business. And there's also on top of it, your estate tax.
Right.
What I'm talking about right now is not a solution for any of those.
Right.
It is simply for the asset protection.
Asset protection. Yeah.
Once we start getting into income tax planning, estate tax planning, capital gain, that's a much more complex conversation.
Right.
It has to be.
And y'all can afford to have it. Okay. At this point,
Exactly.
Right. You can afford to have it. Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're building businesses, I just did a live this morning, and I was listening to Robert Kiyosaki on Bigger Pockets, and he says something that I'd heard this, but I don't think I heard it ever that way. He says the purpose of business is to buy real estate. And I was like, what? And I never connected it like that, because I think your business should buy your real estate. But he said the purpose of business, that way you're using debt to buy assets, and then all of the things with the real estate in your business will zero out and you won't pay taxes anyway. I'm oversimplifying it, but it was really interesting. And so now you're minimizing your tax. Because I always tell people, look, if you're going to create maximum wealth, you have to create maximum efficiency, but you have to play defense. So that's insurances. That's what you're talking about. So while you're doing all this stuff, you don't want some overeager attorney or somebody. You know, my parents had a situation where somebody slipped and they had a bar right in Philly, and somebody slipped and fell on their property, didn't have insurance, and all of a sudden we had to go through all kinds of stuff. Fortunately, we did was in it a C corp, and we had debt, so they really couldn't collect on that. So sometimes debt is an asset protection tool also, not
It's
just
a
having all these
tremendous asset
things
protection
paid off.
tool.
Yeah, and so we found it out because they were sick by the time. So I'm the one dealing with this, going through all the depositions, and I'm stressed out just on
Beyond,
GP.
beyond.
Yeah.
It's
And
terrible.
yeah, it is terrible, and it's expensive, and it's and don't get me started. It's just if I see that guy again, I'd want to punch him in the mouth.
I'm telling you. And you know, here's the thing, like there in California, okay, there are two types of cases that are constantly being brought. Estate litigation, siblings versus siblings, and or the evil stepmother, and wage and hour claims. I mean, literally, it's labor and employment, like someone, you made me work too many hours and you didn't pay me correctly, or when they come and intersect, when the person who was your home health care aide now sues the estate for wage and hour. Oh, this is big business in California.
Listen, Natalie, I know you got another appointment, so we had this short time with you. I'm looking at the clock, but tell them how to now. So you can definitely follow her on Instagram, but anyway, what's the best way for them to reach out to you to find out more about this stuff?
Awesome. So my website is goldbergllp.com. I'm also very avid poster on LinkedIn. I have quite a following there. Natalie Alicia Goldberg. And you can also email me, hello@goldlegalgroup.com. Curtis, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I know we just got started. I mean, I can't even believe it's already, when you get me talking about this stuff, the time just flies.
I know.
Truly,
You're like
thank
me.
you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, my pleasure. So you have a great rest of your day. Hopefully we can get you back and we can talk some more, because this is a big conversation.
Thank you, my friend. Be well.
All right. Thank you.